This is Chris with Dive Zone Scuba for another technical diving tips, techniques, and trips video.
Hello divers, this is Chris with Dive Zone Scuba. Thanks for joining me today. What we're going to be talking about today is an alternative boot for scuba diving. And this is a boot manufactured by a company called Altama. And the specific model that we're talking about,
it's called the Maritime Assault boot.
And it comes in actually three different configurations. This one is the over the ankle version of the boot. There's also a low cut boot, which does not have the area around the ankle. And then lastly, there is an 8-inch version of the boot, which comes up to approximately here. We have had quite a bit of success with this particular boot, so I think the next one we're going to try is going to be the 8-inch boot. Alright, so if you have been watching the channel for a while, there was an accident in December of 2022 in which a diver actually broke their ankle, and in order to continue diving, some accommodations had to be made, particularly in the area of the diving footwear. And so this is what we, after quite a bit of searching, this is what we came up with. So
the Maritime Assault line of boots
has the laces here and the high top over the ankle, and so it can be adjusted for quite a bit of support, and that was the reason why we started looking at it. And this has been tested, dive tested, and it appears to hold great promise. And so I wanted to make a video in case anybody was interested in this type of boot. So a long time ago, there were people that were diving in dry suits with dry socks attached. And what they used were gym shoes, basketball shoes called Chuck Taylors. And so many people have used those, and many people continue to use those. And what happened was, the way the story goes, is one of the military services, maybe the SEAL, Special Operations Group in the Navy, contacted Altama and asked them to make some more military-specific boots. And so what Altama came up with was
a few different versions, this one being the Maritime Assault version.
So a couple of things that make this superior to the Chuck Taylor generic type of boot, probably made by Converse, is the fact that it has very large drain holes on both sides right here to allow the water to go out. The shoe also has inside here an interesting insole. This is a solid rubber insole, flexible rubber, some kind of closed cell foam rubber, which does not absorb water. And since most non-marine specific boots have conventional foam inserts, this goes a long way toward not absorbing in the water. And so what happens is, to a certain degree, when you walk with this boot in the insole, what will happen is it will sort of pump out the water out of the shoe, and so it does not retain water the same way that a scuba boot typically would. There is going to be more transfer of water in and out of the boot than perhaps most conventional wetsuit boots of this height. So the boot does have a limitation in that it's not going to be, probably not going to be as warm as an equivalent conventional boot, but it provides significantly more support to the user. So I'm going to put this back in. And obviously, important consideration when using a non-standard boot like this is fin compatibility. So a lot of wade fishing type boots have a very thick sole here and also have a very deep tread. And so what happens is, as a result of the design of the boot, it cannot fit in a normal fin. So when you look at this boot, one of the things that immediately brings your attention to is the fact that the tread is very shallow. We haven't done a long-term test on this, so we don't know how long it lasts, but some other reviews on the internet indicates that this is not necessarily a problem.
Even though the tread is very shallow, it appears to grip wet surfaces very well.
Alright, so the shallow tread does help with the profile of the boot. Alright, so here is a fin that the diver used prior to the accident. And it's an Aquatech fin that's actually Aquatech branded, and you can see that here. And this fin, of course, is made under many different names, including Hog and UTD and so on. And so the big question is whether or not a non-standard boot like this can actually fit in a person's fin, or are they going to need to get a new fin in order to accommodate the additional thickness and size and so on. So obviously, if you have a boot that is compatible with your existing equipment, it's a much more attractive alternative than it would be otherwise. Okay, so this boot, okay, because of the narrow sole, shallow sole and tread, actually does fit inside the original fin as a result of the design. I think it probably sticks out a little bit, maybe a half an inch or so further out than the user's original boot, but it does actually fit quite well inside the fin. So it looks like the original fin. Of course, it depends on what fin you have, but in this particular case, the fin does fit, or the boot does fit in the user's original fin. So we have been so encouraged by the performance of this particular boot,
The Altama Maritime Assault boot,
that what we're going to do next is we're going to get the 8-inch version of this boot, which again comes up to about here, to see how well that performs. But so far, the testing of the boot is very promising, and we think that this is a good candidate for people who are interested in boots that have more support than regular scuba boots, or who have special needs due to injuries and so on. One other last thing that does really differentiate this from the Chuck Taylor type boot is that I don't believe those types of boots have any kind of thickness padding lining to them if they're the old-fashioned canvas type. And so this being a nylon type boot with the padding on here, I think it is a much more sophisticated boot than the average Chuck Taylor boot. Okay, so that's it for this video. This is Chris with Dive Zone Scuba. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.